My name is Marcus Thornton. I'm 38 years old, and the phone call came at 2:47 in the afternoon while I was reviewing blueprints at a construction site in Denver. My wife Amanda had been in a car accident on Interstate 25. She was alive but in critical condition at Lutheran Medical Center. I dropped everything and drove straight there, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I arrived, the doctor told me she had 3 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and internal bleeding they were monitoring closely. She would survive, but recovery would take months. I sat by her hospital bed that first night, holding her hand while she drifted in and out of consciousness from the pain medication. We had been married for 11 years, and despite our problems lately, I never imagined losing her like this. The accident happened on a Thursday in March 2024. Amanda had been driving home from what she said was a yoga class in Boulder. The police report stated she had swerved to avoid debris on the highway and lost control, hitting the median barrier at 50 miles per hour. Her Honda Civic was totaled. I spent the next 3 days at the hospital, sleeping in the uncomfortable chair beside her bed, bringing her water, adjusting her pillows, and talking to doctors about her treatment plan. My boss at Thornton Construction gave me emergency leave without hesitation. Amanda seemed grateful for my presence at first, squeezing my hand weakly and whispering thank you whenever I helped her sit up or brought her ice chips. I thought maybe this tragedy would bring us closer together again, heal the distance that had grown between us over the past year. On Sunday morning, 4 days after the accident, Amanda's sister Kelly arrived from Phoenix. Kelly had always been cold toward me, treating me like I wasn't successful enough for her family. Their parents owned a chain of medical supply stores across Colorado and Arizona, the kind of money that made my construction manager salary look small. Kelly barely acknowledged me when she walked into the hospital room, going straight to Amanda's bedside with an expensive flower arrangement. She stayed for 3 hours, and I noticed them having hushed conversations whenever I left to get coffee or use the restroom. Something felt wrong, but I dismissed it as paranoia. Amanda had nearly died. Of course her family would rally around her. I was being oversensitive, reading problems into normal situations like I always did according to Amanda's complaints about me. That evening, after Kelly left, a hospital administrator named Miss Crawford came to Amanda's room with a clipboard and several documents. She explained that Amanda had requested to handle some paperwork regarding medical decisions and insurance matters. I offered to help, but Amanda waved me away with her good hand. "You should go home and rest, Marcus," she said. "You have been here for days. Get a real shower and some sleep in an actual bed. I will be fine tonight." Something in her tone felt off, but she was right that I was exhausted. I kissed her forehead and drove home to our house in Lakewood, a modest 3-bedroom ranch we had purchased in 2018. I showered, ate leftover pizza, and collapsed into bed around 9 that night, falling asleep almost instantly from sheer exhaustion. I woke up Monday morning to 17 missed calls and 9 text messages. My stomach dropped before I even read them. The first message was from our bank, Wells Fargo, alerting me to unusual account activity. The second was from Amanda's lawyer, someone named Vincent Sterling, informing me that divorce papers had been filed and I should expect official service within 24 hours. The third message was from Amanda herself, sent at 11 the previous night. "Marcus, I am sorry to do this while I am recovering, but I cannot pretend anymore. I want a divorce. My lawyer will contact you. Please do not come back to the hospital." I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at my phone in complete disbelief. She had filed for divorce from her hospital bed, for days after nearly dying in a car accident that I had spent every waking moment helping her through. I opened my banking app with trembling fingers. Our joint checking account, which had contained $14,000 on Thursday, now showed a balance of $83. Our joint savings account, which we had built up to $4,000 to $7,000 over the years, was completely empty. Every penny had been transferred out on Sunday evening while I was driving home from the hospital. I checked our secondary savings account at Chase Bank, the one we used for property taxes and emergency repairs. Also empty, cleaned out of its $22,000. In one evening, while I slept in exhaustion from taking care of her, Amanda had systematically drained every account with both our names on it. She had taken over $83,000 and left me with less than $100 to my name. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I had ever felt before. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. I called the hospital immediately, but they told me Amanda had left instructions that I was not permitted to visit her room. When I called her cell phone, it went straight to voicemail. I tried Kelly's number and got the same result. They had planned this together, I realized. The quiet conversations, the paperwork with Miss Crawford, the suggestion that I go home and rest. Every move had been calculated. While I was worried about her survival and recovery, she was plotting to destroy me financially and walk away from our marriage. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound could have. I spent Monday morning in shock, pacing around our house, looking at wedding photos on the walls and wondering how we had gotten here. Then I remembered something Amanda did not know about. 6 years ago, in 2018, my grandfather passed away and left me $112,000 in his will. It was not a fortune, but it was significant. When I told Amanda about the inheritance, she immediately started planning how we would spend it. New kitchen renovation, a trip to Europe, maybe a down payment on a bigger house. But something in my gut told me to be careful. My grandfather had worked his entire life as a mechanic and saved every dollar he could. His money represented decades of sacrifice, and I felt obligated to protect it the same way he had. So I did something I never told Amanda about. I took $80,000 of the inheritance and opened a separate account at a completely different bank, First Western Trust, across town in Aurora. I put it in my name only, no joint access, no statements mailed to our house. Everything was digital and sent to an email account Amanda did not know existed. I used the remaining $32,000 from the inheritance for things we did together. A new roof for the house, paying off her student loans, and some improvements to our backyard. Amanda thought that was all the money my grandfather had left me. She had no idea that $80,000 had been sitting safely in my name alone for 6 years, growing slowly with interest. It was now worth roughly $94,000. My insurance policy had just become my lifeline. On Monday afternoon, a process server arrived at my door with divorce papers. The petition was brutal in its coldness. Amanda cited irreconcilable differences and requested an equitable division of all marital assets. Her lawyer had listed our house, valued at $370,000 with a remaining mortgage of $210,000, leaving about $160,000 in equity. She wanted half of everything, which was her legal right in Colorado's equitable distribution state. But what made my blood boil was a section where her lawyer claimed I had been financially controlling during our marriage and had hidden assets from her. The accusation was projection at its finest. She was the one who had just stolen $83,000 from joint accounts while I slept, and yet her lawyer was painting me as the financial manipulator. I called every divorce attorney in Denver over the next 2 days. Most of them were too expensive, wanting retainers of $15,000 or more just to start. Finally, on Wednesday, I found a lawyer named Peter Caldwell who had good reviews and charged reasonable rates. His retainer was $8,000, which I paid from my secret account at First Western Trust. When I sat down in his office that afternoon and explained the situation, Peter listened carefully, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. He was in his mid-50s, with gray hair and a calm demeanor that made me feel like maybe I was not completely doomed. After I finished talking, he leaned back in his chair and smiled slightly. "Marcus, your wife just made a very expensive mistake," he said. I did not understand what he meant, but I trusted him to handle this properly. Peter immediately filed a motion with the court to freeze all remaining marital assets and to require Amanda to account for every dollar she had taken from the joint accounts. In Colorado, spouses cannot just empty accounts and claim the money as their own during divorce proceedings. Any funds taken must be accounted for and included in the final asset division. Peter also filed a motion requiring Amanda to disclose all her financial accounts, income sources, and assets. This is where things got interesting. While going through our financial records for Peter's review, I found something unusual. Amanda had been depositing an extra $2,000 per month into a personal account at Bank of the West that I had never known existed. I only discovered it because a stray statement had been delivered to our house by mistake back in January, which I had found in the recycling bin and forgotten about until now. The deposits went back 18 months, starting in September 2022. That was over $36,000 she had secretly saved without telling me. Where was this money coming from? Amanda worked part-time as a marketing consultant for her family's medical supply business, earning about $42,000 per year according to her tax returns. But these deposits were on top of her regular paychecks. I showed the bank statement to Peter, and he immediately subpoenaed her financial records. What we discovered shocked both of us. Amanda had been running a side business I knew nothing about, reselling medical equipment through online marketplaces. She was buying surplus inventory from her family's company at cost, then selling it at markup through websites and keeping the profit. It was not illegal, but it was completely hidden from me during our entire marriage. Over 18 months, Amanda had generated roughly $68,000 in revenue from this side business and pocketed about $41,000 in profit after expenses. Combined with the $83,000 she had stolen from our joint accounts, Amanda had actually removed around $124,000 from our marital estate. Peter explained that under Colorado law, any income earned during the marriage was marital property, regardless of whose name was on the account. Amanda's secret business income and her hidden Bank of the West account would need to be included in the asset division. Suddenly, the financial picture looked very different. She thought she was walking away with everything while leaving me with nothing. She had no idea what was coming. The court hearing was scheduled for mid-April, 6 weeks after Amanda had filed for divorce. During that time, I moved into a small apartment in Westminster and tried to rebuild some normalcy in my life. Peter kept me updated on the legal maneuvering. Amanda's lawyer, Vincent Sterling, was fighting hard against our motions, claiming Amanda needed the money for medical expenses from her accident. Peter countered by pointing out that Amanda had excellent health insurance through her family's business and that her medical bills were largely covered. The judge, Honorable Catherine Wells, was not sympathetic to Amanda's arguments. She ordered Amanda to provide a full accounting of where the $83,000 had gone and to disclose all bank accounts, business records, and income sources going back 3 years. Amanda had no choice but to comply. When the hearing finally arrived, I sat in the courtroom at the Arapahoe County Justice Center watching Amanda walk in with her lawyer. She had recovered significantly from her injuries, though she still moved carefully and had a visible scar on her forehead from the accident. She would not look at me. Judge Wells reviewed all the financial documents both sides had submitted, including my secret First Western Trust account which I had voluntarily disclosed once the divorce started, Amanda's hidden Bank of the West account, her undisclosed side business records, and the evidence of her draining our joint accounts. The judge looked displeased as she read through everything. "Miss Thornton," Judge Wells said sternly, "you removed $83,000 from joint marital accounts without your husband's knowledge or consent while he was caring for you in the hospital. Can you explain this action?" Amanda's lawyer stood up quickly. "Your Honor, my client was acting on advice of counsel to protect assets during the dissolution of marriage. That is her legal right under Colorado law." Judge Wells cut him off. "Mr. Sterling, your client did not just protect assets. She systematically emptied every joint account, leaving her husband nearly destitute, while simultaneously hiding over $40,000 in income from a business she ran secretly during the marriage. This court does not look favorably on such deceptive financial behavior from either party." The judge then turned to my side of the courtroom. "Mr. Thornton, you also maintained a separate account containing $94,000 that your wife knew nothing about. Can you explain why you hid this from her?" Peter stood and responded before I could. "Your Honor, Mr. Thornton received this money as an inheritance from his deceased grandfather in 2018. While he chose not to disclose the full amount to his wife, inheritance is generally considered separate property in Colorado unless it is commingled with marital assets, which this was not." Judge Wells nodded slowly, reviewing her notes. After what felt like an eternity, she announced her decision. "This court finds that both parties engaged in financial concealment during their marriage. However, Mr. Thornton's separate inheritance account remained separate property and was never commingled with marital funds. Miss Thornton's hidden business income and secret account, however, were earned during the marriage and constitute marital property. Furthermore, Miss Thornton's removal of $83,000 from joint accounts will be credited entirely to her share of the marital estate. The courtroom was silent. Judge Wells continued, laying out the division. Our house equity of $160,000 would be split evenly, $80,000 each. Amanda's hidden bank of the West account containing $41,000 would be added to the marital estate and split evenly, giving each of us $20,500. But here was the critical part. Since Amanda had already taken $83,000 from the joint accounts, that amount would be deducted entirely from her share. Peter leaned over and whispered the math to me quickly. Amanda owed me money. Her half of everything totaled $100,500 in theory, but she had already taken $83,000. That left only $17,500 she was entitled to, meaning she would need to return $65,500 to balance the division. My inheritance account was mine to keep entirely as separate property. Judge Wells was not finished. Additionally, Miss Thornton will be responsible for her own legal fees due to her deceptive financial conduct during these proceedings. Mr. Thornton's legal fees in the amount of $14,000 will be split evenly between both parties. Amanda's face had gone completely white. Her lawyer was frantically whispering to her, probably explaining that she had just lost everything she thought she had won. The final order came 2 weeks later. I received $80,000 from the house equity, $20,500 from Amanda's hidden business account, and $65,500 as repayment for the joint account money she had taken. Combined with my $94,000 in the separate inheritance account, I walked away from the divorce with approximately $260,000. Amanda got $17,500 total, lost the house, and had to pay her own lawyer's fees, which I later heard were around $32,000. She ended up with less than nothing after legal costs. Her plan to take everything and leave me destroyed had backfired spectacularly because of her own greed and deception. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own actions. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I used part of my settlement to start my own construction company, Thornton Custom Builds. Today we employ 23 people and specialize in high-end residential projects across Colorado. I bought a small house in Golden with mountain views and started dating again, taking things slowly this time. I heard through mutual friends that Amanda moved back to Phoenix to work full-time for her family's business, apparently having learned nothing from the experience. Her sister Kelly never spoke to me again, which was fine by me. The whole situation taught me that trust should be earned carefully and that protecting yourself financially is not selfish, it is smart. My grandfather's inheritance had saved me twice, once when he left it to me and once when I had the wisdom to keep it separate. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories like this one. Thanks for watching.